Good afternoon, everybody. It's time. It's time for our first ever Personnel Decisions Tuesday. Already explained the concept, but basically, we're going to take a look at the players that the Seahawks chose to keep, the players that the Seahawks chose to acquire, and the players that the Seahawks chose to let go, and see how their performance stacks up. And from there, we can get an idea of how the front office did in the most recent offseason. So this is going to be a kind of a surface level look. We're not going to go too deep into every player because there are a lot of players to get through. We don't have enough time for that. But there are more things that can be said about a lot of these players than just a handful of stats. So we can definitely dig deeper into the finer points of whether or not these players played well in other videos and streams, but this provides sort of a surface level look at how these players performed in week one against Indy. So, with that being said, let's start with the guys the Seahawks re signed. So, these are 6 players who were on the team last year and are on the team again this year when we could have let them go. First, we have Chris Carson, who obviously played a very good game. 19 total touches on offense, 117 yards. He had multiple very impressive carries. He averaged, I think, 4.4 yards after contact. He broke 5 tackles on his 3 receptions alone, apparently, which is crazy. And he had a very nice PFF grade of 65.9 despite losing a fumble in what was almost field goal range. So I'm putting the PFF grades here because they're worth noting. I'm not saying that PFF is always right. In fact, I think we're going to run into a couple of grades in this video that do not pass the smell test, but I do want to put them up for everyone's information. But in the case of Chris Carson, getting a 66 grade from PFF despite losing a fumble, that's pretty good. And again, I can't kill him for that fumble. That was a great play by the defense. So, good start by Carson. Alex Collins did not play. He'll probably play this week, but did not play against the Colts. Ethan Posick played 14 snaps, gave up a sack. I'm not 100% sure it was his fault, but it's debatable. But even without that sack, he did not play particularly well. He was terrible in pass blocking, and his PFF grade was sub 50. So, not a good start to the season for Posick, and now he's injured. We also have Poona Ford with a very, very uncharacteristic 42 grade from PFF, which is really bad. 1 tackle in 52 snaps. I don't know. Maybe he didn't have a big impact in the game, but it's not like the Colts ran the ball all over us, so I don't know. Okay, Carlos Dunlap played 40 snaps and had 0 tackles, so not a big statistical impact on the game, but he did get an excellent PFF grade of 73.5, which is really, really solid. And we know that he got a sack on a 2 point conversion, which technically does not count, but we all saw it happen. We all know that play meant something. If the Colts pick up the 2 point conversion there, the game might change a little bit down the stretch. Probably not, but it's still a sack. And I think it's kind of an oversight that NFL stat keepers don't consider plays made on 2 point conversions. Those are pivotal plays. That is a score or die situation for the offense. If you stop the play, that's worth 2 points. If you make the play, that's worth 2 points. So don't really know why the NFL decides those plays just don't count for the stats, but Dunlap did get a sack on the 2 point conversion. So that was his major contribution. He had other pressures as well. We'll get into that later this week, but no stats in the actual box score for Dunlap. And finally, we have Benson Mayowa, who played 32 snaps, had 2 tackles, both of them for a loss, including 1 sack of Carson Wentz. Somehow, that performance gets him a 55.3 PFF grade, which I think this is definitely one of the areas where PFF just doesn't really totally grasp it. Maybe Mayowa really struggled on his other 30 snaps. I guess it's possible. But this is a big impact. He had a 3rd down sack that forced a punt in the first half. He had another tackle for loss that I believe was crucial to this game. those big splash plays can make up for a lot of plays where you're just going through the motions. Those plays swing games. So I look at this grade and I go, I think they're just missing something. It's kind of like the Puna Ford thing where I'll concede Puna Ford did not have one of his best games. Hard for me to believe that a grade of 42, which is downright bad, is warranted when it's not like the Colts ran all over us and we were generally getting a lot of pressure on Wentz. But those are the numbers for our free agent re-signings. Let's go over to the signings and trades. These are guys who were not on the Seahawks last year, but were on the Seahawks this year for their first ever game. And some positive early returns here, starting with Gerald Everett. Only 2 catches for 20 yards, but he did catch a touchdown. He had another catch on a play that was called back on an unrelated penalty. He caught all passes thrown to him, which only 2. It's a small sample size, but good start. And his work blocking in the run game and the pass game was also positive enough to earn him a very good PFF grade. PFF thought he played a great all-around game, almost 76. So good start for G-Force, as I might start calling him. I kind of like that nickname. All right, then we have Gabe Jackson, who played 54 snaps for the offense and gave up 0 sacks. As I went over this morning, apparently he gave up 4 pressures. Now, some of it was because he was playing against DeForest Buckner. Some of it was because it was his first game ever in a new offense. Some of it was because it's a brand new team. He's also working with a center that is quite simply not very good. So there are a lot of reasons why that might have been, but it does seem like his pass protection left something to be desired, and it's something to watch going forward. However, his run blocking was excellent, and he did do some very positive things out there, even in pass protection. If you watch the 69-yard Tyler Lockett touchdown, he keeps up a block on a defensive tackle for what feels like 3 years. It's an incredible job of pass protection from Gabe Jackson on that play. His PFF grade was still okay, despite not doing great in pass protection, 62.8. Pretty good. Al Woods played 27 snaps and made 1 tackle, got a PFF grade of 54, which is pretty much anonymous, pretty much forgettable. Again, if you look at the way this run defense played against the Colts, it was mostly fine. So I'm judging Al Woods based off of things like that more than anything, so I feel like he probably played fine. So this is probably another instance where the PFF grade just doesn't totally capture what needs to be captured with Al Woods, but I think he played fine. Kerry Hyder, we'll talk more about him later in the week because of the work he did getting pressure on Wentz, but 41 snaps in his first ever game as a Seahawk, 3 tackles, PFF grade of 61, so decent, solid. Somehow, some way, and I never thought I'd say this, he got outshined by Rasheem Green, which I don't know if that's going to be the case throughout the whole season, but I did not expect Kerry Hyder to have any competition at the starting 5-tech spot from Rasheem Green. And I understand that it seems like the defense this year isn't super interested in positional designations like that. Leo, 5-tech, 3-tech, 1-tech, nose tackle, etc. But did not expect Rasheem Green to play more snaps and play better than Kerry Hyder did. But Kerry Hyder played fine. Decent first game for him. And the only other acquisitions of note were Bleshuan Austin, who did not play, and Sidney Jones, who did not play. So if you take a look at all this stuff collectively, not bad for a first game. Chris Carson was obviously the star of the show, but we also got quality work from Dunlap, Mayowa, Everett, Jackson to a certain extent. Kerry Hyder was pretty good. The main issues would be Posick, who didn't play very much anyway, and now he's hurt, so he's really not going to play very much. Maybe Puna Ford, although, again, I feel like this grade is probably just missing something. I don't think Puna Ford stood out, but I don't think he's this bad. It's tough for me to buy that. So, not a bad start to the keeping and acquiring of players. Okay, now we take a look at our draft picks and UDFAs. This is going to be real quick because only one rookie played on Sunday, and he only played 12 snaps. Dwayne Eskridge had 3 touches for 28 yards, 2 carries, and 1 reception. 1 reception, 6 yards, 2 carries, 22 yards. And then he got hurt, which, again, still not happy about that play. But PFF grade, liked him well enough, 65, pretty good, pretty much fine. And none of the other rookies got to play. So pretty simple stuff there. Now we're going to take a look at some departures, which a few people suggested that I add this to this video series, and it's a good idea, so I went ahead and did it. And we have 3 significant guys who left the team this offseason who are actually playing for their respective new teams, if they have a respective new team at all. First is Shaquill Griffin in Jacksonville. He played 78 snaps, which was all the snaps. 4 tackles and 1 pass deflection for the Jaguars defense. PFF thought he was fine, 62. I did read, and I don't have all the coverage metrics yet. They haven't come out yet for me. But I did read that he was targeted 7 times and gave up 4 completions. And apparently his yards allowed per coverage snap stat was really bad. But I don't have all the information yet on that. So decent start to Shaquill Griffin's career in Jacksonville, I suppose. Jarran Reed played 40 snaps for the Kansas City Chiefs in his first ever game in KC. Had 1 tackle. And his PFF grade was pretty bad, 48.9. So not a great start for Jarran Reed. I know the Browns had a lot of success running on the Chiefs, so that's not a great indicator. And I don't know what his performance was pressuring the quarterback, but I didn't see any great indication of a tremendous performance from him. And finally, we have KJ Wright, who played last night for the Raiders, and we all saw him make some plays. He made that big play on 4th and 1 to turn the ball over back to the Raiders offense, which really flipped that game. If he doesn't make that play, I don't think the Raiders win. You never know what happens after that play, of course, but that was a huge play in that game, and it was his main contribution to that game for the Raiders. Played 31 snaps, which is less than half of the total defensive snaps for the Raiders, so he's a part-time player. 2 tackles, including that one at the line of scrimmage to force the 4th down turnover. PFF grade was okay, 60.5. And that is all we have for this video. So let me know what you think down below. So far, it seems all right. Only getting 28 yards and nothing else from rookies kind of sucks. But not a bad start to the season for the front office. And we'll be doing this again next week. See you guys later today. Peace out. Go Hawks.